Light and Shadows, Chapter 10, page number 94. I have divided this chapter in 4 parts. In part 1, we will be seeing light and its significance. In part 2, we will be seeing shadow, its characteristic features and formation of shadows. In part 3, we will be seeing rotation and revolution of Earth and formation of day and night. And in last part, that is part 4, we will be seeing eclipse, solar and lunar eclipse. So let's start with the chapter. So children, do you know that we are able to see just because of light? Light is all around us. Have you ever wondered what light is and where do we get it from? Well, that's what we are going to learn today. Now, what is light? Light is a form of energy. So, light is a form of energy. We can see when an object gives off its own light, like the sun. When an object reflects light into our eyes, objects that give off light are called sources of light. So these sources can be natural sources or artificial sources. Some examples of natural sources of light are the sun, the stars, or fire. Artificial sources, examples of artificial sources are lights given by bulbs, burning candles, or by a torch. So, we know that light is a form of energy that enables or that helps us to see things around us. Sun and stars are the natural sources of light. They emit light of their own, so they emit their own light. That's why we call them natural sources of light. So such objects which can emit their own light are called luminous objects. So we will see what are luminous and non-luminous objects. So objects that give out light on its own are known as luminous objects. Let's see some examples. Sun, stars, fire glow and give out light on their own. So they are luminous objects. Let's see some examples of living luminous objects like fireflies, glowworm, lantern fish, glowing millipedes. These are some of the examples of living luminous objects. They emit their own light. So they glow and emit light of their own. Now let's see non-luminous object. So you can see this picture out here. So what is non-luminous object? Object that do not give out light on their own. So object that do not give their light on their own. So these are called non-luminous object. So what is non-luminous object? Object that do not give out light on their own are called non-luminous objects. For example, we can see man-made objects like bulb, tube light, torch and candle also emit light. These are artificial sources of light. These objects are invisible when in dark, but you can see them in the presence of a source of light. So such objects that do not have light their own but are visible when light falls on them are called non-luminous object. So this bulb, tube light, torch and candle, burning candle, these are non-luminous object. So most of you say that moon. Most of you say that moon is a luminous object. But no, moon is not a luminous object. It is a non-luminous object. Why? Because moon does not have light of its own. So it reflects light of the sun falling on it. So it reflects light of the sun falling on it. So because of which it glows at night. That's why, see the example of luminous object, we have sun and non-luminous object, the moon. So this is all about luminous and non-luminous. So what is luminous object? Object that give out light on its own are known as luminous object. For example, the sun, the stars are the examples of luminous object, and the object that do not give out light on its own are called non-luminous object. So moon is one of the examples of non-luminous object. So these objects can also be classified as transparent, translucent and opaque objects. So depending on the ability to pass through it. So objects can be classified as transparent, translucent and opaque based on the ability of light to pass through them. So let's see what is transparent, translucent and opaque object. So object that allow light to pass through them Objects that allow the light to pass through them are called transparent object. So what is transparent object? Object that allow light to pass through them are called transparent objects. Most of the light falling upon transparent object passes through it to the other side, thereby allowing us to see through them. For example, glass, clean air, pure water, etc. are the examples of transparent object. So you can see through this window, outside the window we can see because there is a glass. But you cannot see outside. If you go that side and see from the wall, you cannot see. So glass, pure water, these are the example of transparent object. When you look around, you will find that you can see through glass window and not through the walls. I already told you from your classroom. This is because glass allows the light to pass through it, but a wall made of bricks reflects the light. So objects that allow light to pass through them completely are called transparent objects. For example, glass, air and water are transparent objects. So objects that do not allow any light to pass through them are called opaque object. So what is an opaque object? Object that do not allow any light to pass through them are called opaque object. So as a result, we cannot see through them. So when light falls on opaque object, its shadow is formed on the other side of it. Wood, brick and rock, etc. are the examples of opaque object. So objects that do not allow light to pass through them are called opaque objects. So such objects reflect the light and so we cannot see through them. For example, we have wood, brick, wall and book also are the examples of opaque object. For example, I have book out here. So when I do like this, I cannot see that side. So these, because this is an opaque object, so it will not allow light to pass through them. So now next we have translucent object. Objects that are partially transparent and partially opaque are called translucent object. They allow light to pass through them in a scattered or a diffused manner. So what is translucent object? So object, there are some other objects that allow only some light to pass through them, partially. A blurred picture is seen when we look through this object. Such objects that allow only partial light to pass through them are called translucent objects. So examples of translucent objects are butter paper, smoke glass and colored glass are some of the examples of translucent object. Now let's see some pictures here. So here I have translucent, transparent and opaque. So this is transparent object. All light passes through. And translucent, some light passes through. And opaque, no light passes through. So you can see here this block here, some light, all light, some light, and this is dark out here. So no light passes through. So this is also, you can see out here some pictures of transparent, translucent and opaque objects. So children, we learned how do we see different objects, what are luminous and non-luminous object or non-luminous object, and the different classification of different objects like transparent, translucent and opaque objects. We will learn more about light and shadow in our next class. Thank you and have a good day.